I'm falling asleep in the back of Miss Stevenson's 10th grade history class. She's projecting the pages of our founding nation textbook onto the whiteboard, and she calls this teaching. Nobody questions her 10 years of tenured curriculum or how she runs her class, even when the drone of her voice is a failing plane engine failing everyone but her.
I'm sitting in the front of Miss Dobbs' 9th grade English class. She leans in. She tells us about her life as a Vietnam War protester. Her eyes leak like a 30-year storm when she gets to the part about her friends who returned home more mangled than whole. Miss Dobbs wants us to know that our voices are the only weapon that matters, the only weapon that doesn't destroy. Think of a teacher who cared.
Think of all the teachers who didn't.
Why does education feel like a battlefield?
Why is one side forcing us to run through machine gun-fired standardized tests?
While the other side wants us to decide for ourselves what's worth fighting for.
Miss Dobbs and Miss Stevenson are at war with each other.
In a conflict defined by what students are allowed to ask. But school teaches us that our voices are unanswered questions. What is success?
Is it something rich people just thought up to feel better about themselves?
If I pass your tests,
graduate, get hired by a Fortune 500 company,
will I still be part of the 85% of people who hate their jobs? Why are we so complacent to suffer in silence?
To sacrifice ourselves to the gods of progress?
We're always lingering just beyond the next field of infinite worksheets.
Do well in elementary school to do well in high school.
Do well in college to do well in your job.
Then retire
so you can do well in death. Will this be on the test? Will my voice be on the test? I'm sitting here with my arm raised, blood draining out of my hands, waiting to ask, at what point will school prepare me for life?
This question isn't relevant to the lesson, so it'll be pencil shavings on the floor as I'm sharpened into a tool.
Miss Dobbs, you were our ally while we struggled against this factory line education handed down by out-of-touch politicians who would rather we just shove these questions back down our throats.
Miss Stevenson, did you realize that you just become another turn in a cycle of detached policymakers and principals, grinding our desks down into the gunpowder that would kill our tomorrow?
We remember the classes that affect us the most. The affirmation.
The control.
The open doors.
The get out of my class. The
you
fact
saw
that
inspiration rising from students' thoughts to mingle with the lights. You know we are all glowing stars being fueled by our own fire. I saw you sowing humanity into your classes. How do you navigate through the chaos of a battlefield where everyone claims to be on your side? One lesson says, just absorb what's on the board.
While the other wants us to question everything.
Our voice is the most valuable thing we will ever have, but half of education demands we sit in silence. True learning is the celebration of each utterance combined in a salute of human potential.
The personal connection that reminds us why we are alive in the first place.
What if 85% of people love their jobs?
What if school taught us how to do that?
What if work was not trading life for money, but instead offering passion and conviction towards projects we believe in?
Today is a series of mechanized bells that do not teach us how to succeed.
Tomorrow is a textbook written by the voices of us who could not be cut down.
Thank you. So when I was 5 years old and getting into a car, I would always insist that I put on my own seatbelts. Now, my very creative single mother who needed to get places noticed how long it would take. So what she did was she created the most amazing game ever played. The seatbelt race. The rules of the seatbelt race are simple. You must safely enter the vehicle, fasten your seatbelt, lock the door, and finally you may declare that you have won. You didn't win anything. It's maybe like a high five or laughter. And we played this game and a lot others like it all throughout my childhood. Then I graduated high school. Then college, I started teaching poetry in elementary school classrooms, and I realized something. There's a strength that kids have that school systems will, for the most part, completely ignore. And that's their excitement. That's their enthusiasm teachers will spend so much of class periods trying to cut down this excitement. They'll be like, go to recess, leave us, come back when you're like calm. And instead, we could be encouraging this excitement and putting that excitement right back into the lesson that we're trying to teach. So our idea is that we want to create a learning environment that students respond to, and that we respond to who they are as people and where they are in life. So kids, they're not like worksheet robots. So we want to create curriculum that really meets them on their playing field. Later on, you're going to hear from Patrick, who designs curriculum in high schools that also respond to kids on a personal level. But right now, you're all fifth graders. And it is the first day of poetry class. So please raise your hand if you want to play a game. All right. This game is called Say It Again. And we're going to rephrase a statement over and over and over again using different words. We can describe the statement, we can use synonyms, we can create metaphors, as long as we can convey the same message as the original statement given. So Patrick, I might start with the statement, I am strong.
I am powerful.
I am a force to be reckoned with.
My muscles are literally rippling out of my shirts.
I am a fist held high in defiance of a system that wants me to behave a certain way. Now, we'll just keep on going. All these kids are firing ideas off as quickly as possible because they're not worried about what they're going to learn. They're worried about, hey, can I be the fastest alliterator, or can I think of metaphors the quickest? When someone gets stumped, all we do is pick a new phrase, like, turn down for what?
Why would I silence my voice for anything?
For what purpose am I going to lower the volume?
How can I put my mouth into a place underground?
So, from this game, the students do learn how to better communicate their ideas, and they have a whole bunch of fun at the same time. So, class, it's the second day of poetry. Raise your hand if you want to play another game. All right, this game is called Perspective Circle. And the idea is we're going to, for a given topic, think about as many different points of view as possible that might have something to say about this topic. It could be other people's points of view, or it could be objects and what they might think about this topic. So, if the topic is war, I might ask myself, what do guns think about war?
What do mothers think about war?
What do soldiers think about war?
What do buildings think about war?
What does money think about war?
What do politicians think about war?
What does war think about itself? Now, it's really nice when the kids are firing off all these ideas that they get to step outside of their own shoes and imagine what other people are thinking, but we build off this. We have them do research, we have them read books, we have them listen to other people's story, because the point of this lesson isn't just to guess what other perspectives are. The only way you gain perspective is by listening. So, after a while of playing these games in class, the students do get an opportunity to write their own poems. And as often as possible, we encourage them to take the tricks that they're learning in the games and turn them into something that they can create. So I have with me a poem from a student in my 6th grade class. This is from Daphne. My soul was born on the playground. My heart came from the seesaw, it never stops teetering. My eyes came from the blue telescope on top of the pirate hideaway. I seemed to never stop looking at the not always beautiful world. My mind was born on the power lines the birds would perch on, making my thoughts weightless. Now, at 11 years old, Daphne was able to connect her identity with the things that she was interested in with a playground. And I think that's kind of what we're doing, making a bridge between things that happen in the classroom and the students' lives and everything else going on there. When that happens, we can combine this idea of learning and living. We're trying to create curriculum in an environment that responds to who's in the classroom. And in 5th grade, we don't want to cut down these kids' energy. We want to build up on it, use it as a strength. So, who wants to play a game?
Okay, class, please take your seats, open your textbooks, page 245, and be silent. Let's try that again. Hey, what's up, everyone? How y'all doing? Woo! All right. So the second greeting is the way we do it when we teach spoken word poetry. I probably don't need to ask you which one made you feel more excited and more like I was here to have some sort of personal connection with you. See, we believe that for teaching and learning to be done properly, it requires this personal connection. It requires us to see each other in this room and respond with energy. To say, hey, I'm happy you're here and I'm happy to be here. Let's do this teaching and learning thing that we've been doing for so long as a species. If you think about it, teaching and learning is the central thing that defines people from all of the other animals. We are a frail, frail species. And back during cave people days, we would have easily been dinner for like every saber-toothed tiger out there had we not learned how to teach each other how to survive. How to make fire, what caves are good to sleep in, where we're going to plant crops eventually where the predators aren't going to eat us. Had we not been able to teach these things, we probably wouldn't have been able to survive as a species. We've been learning from each other ever since. So if teaching and learning is the most central human thing that we can do, how do we create a teaching and learning experience that has humanity at its very core, that has personal interactions at its very center? We believe that spoken word poetry is the ideal way to do this. See, it's an art form that invites people to stand up on top of their desks and scream into the ceiling, this is who I am, this is where I come from, this is what my life is like. And when we bring that into the classroom, when we give people this chance to unabashedly tell us who they are, then we begin this conversation of humanity. We begin this teaching and learning from each other, so that we can respond to the students in our classroom. So in elementary school, we understand that students have lots of excitement. So in our SPARC poetry program, we create these poetry games that invite them to be their natural selves, to express their excitement, and we tie that right into the lesson. Now our high school program, Digital Storytellers, we understand that high school students ain't so into playing games. They're like, what do you think I am, an elementary school student? I'm not playing your games. But they love telling you about themselves. High school students are of the business of figuring out who they are and how the world sees them and how they want to be seen. So if that is their nature, if that's who they are in that room, why don't we create a learning experience that invites them to do that, that builds on them telling us who they are so that we can begin this conversation, begin to see, I see you. I know who you are, and you hopefully know who I am, because as a teacher, we want to do the same thing. We're not some teaching robot, and they're not some learning robot. We're humans. And we have rich backgrounds and lots of experiences and ideas. We come to this classroom, both teacher and student, with tremendous funds of knowledge that come from our backgrounds, that come from our cultural interactions, that come from our whole lives. So why don't we build education on these strengths? Why don't we make this the starting point? Rather than saying, we know what you need to know and we're just going to funnel that into your brains, and we know what your lives are like and what's going to help you in your lives, and so we're just going to teach you how we imagine you to be. I think this is the flawed way to do education, and I think we've been doing it wrong all along. So there is a current push in education towards creating culturally relevant curriculum, which I think is vastly crucial. This idea is that we should have educational experiences that respond to and reflect the lives of students outside of the classroom, especially students who don't come from European backgrounds, because we have an educational system created by people from European backgrounds to emulate our lives. And oftentimes, students from marginalized backgrounds don't see themselves in the curriculum and feel like this has nothing to do with me and it has no relevance to my life. Though I wonder, if we're doing culturally relevant curriculum, how do we know what is culturally relevant to our students? You can't just look at someone and say, oh, you're Latinx, so we'll teach you about Julio Cesar Chavez, and we'll say I'm being culturally relevant. Now, it is vastly important that we do include lots of learning about world leaders from marginalized backgrounds who have not been included in the canon of education. Though I think that we run the risk of generalizing when we say, oh, you're from X background, so I'll teach you about X leader. You know, the student may not have any relevance to that person. They may not have an impact in their life. But if we give them a chance to tell us in a poem what cultures are relevant to them, what experiences have shaped their identity, then we actually know who this person is. We give them a place to give us what we need to know in order to teach them. So I have a poem here from a student who I worked with 4 years ago when I was doing my master's research. So this student and all the students in my study, I told them I wouldn't use their names and I would give them pseudonyms. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you her name was Becky, because it was not. So here's the poem. I am a woman. Does this mean anything? Does this mean I deserve to be raped? Does it mean that I'm hella dramatic and crazy? Do I have to be oversensitive? Being mixed, I am a breed. Different shades of gray, do I accept it? I am mixed. I am a breed. I come from a branch of different shades. They throw shade 99 times a day in 1,000 different ways every 365 days. It drives me crazy. I am a Christian. I am expected to be pure, to pray, to follow God's way. Never doubt him, just believe and pray. But who am I? Who are they to tell me who I am? Who are you? So in this poem, we see the student directly telling us about her life. She's not holding anything back. She's not prettying it up. She's not giving the teacher what the teacher wants to hear. She's just laying it out there. This is who I am. Deal with it. So it's really unlikely to find that kind of honesty in a worksheet or a questionnaire or even an informal conversation. But an art form like spoken word, it gives students this place. It says, please get up on that desk. Tell us who the hell you are. Break the rules. Curse in your poems. Write in another language. Tell the teacher you hate them. I don't know. Say whatever you want. And when students realize, oh my God, I'm not having to give you the right answer is whatever I want to say, then they'll tell us the things we need to know to build a curriculum. So if you look at this poem, she talks about her experience with the culture of women. Specifically, she focuses on stereotypes about women. So we would look at the other poems that students are writing, and we would say, hey, is anyone else writing about stereotypes about women or stereotypes in general? And if there is enough students writing about that, then we have a category of things that is relevant to the students in the class. We then create a theme about that category, and we use that theme to build more writing prompts. She also talks about the fact that she comes from a mixed race background. So we would look to see if other students are writing about this also. If they are, we create a theme and we say, hey, here's something that we can use to find readings to give to the students that are actually going to be relevant to the cultures that they experience outside of the school. So that the school experience becomes directly connected to their lives. So it's not, oh, I go to school here and then I have my life here and the twain shall never meet. I think that's the wrong way to be doing teaching and learning. If teaching and learning is the thing that's kept us alive, that is the central defining human characteristic, then how is school supposed to be this hermetically sealed vault that has no interaction with our lives outside of it? So teachers are always saying, I learn more from my students than they learn from me. At least the good teachers say that. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. Though I think we're missing the chance to refunnel this learning back into the curriculum generation process, to take what we're learning from our students and incorporate that into a conversation with them, to show them, I hear you, I see you, you're telling me important things and they are not falling on deaf ears. I am going to reformat everything that I'm teaching you to make sure it is tailored and customized to who you are, not some curriculum passed down from out-of-touch politicians so we can all do well on a standardized test. Once we are doing this, once we are really listening to each other and engaging in education like it is a conversation where we're getting to know each other, which is the way that we have been teaching and learning throughout the whole entirety of our species. Once we're doing that in education, it becomes an actual reflection of our humanity. After all, true learning is the celebration of each utterance combined in a salute of human potential.
The personal connection
That reminds us why we are alive in the first place. Thank you.